Hello there, and welcome back to Tatooine Tableflip. I'm Jimmy, and today I'll be unboxing my first surprise of Gen Cant 2018, and that is Godzilla Kaiju World Wars from Toy Vault. I really am excited to play this game and get in here and see what's going on. So let's get this thing in the table, get it open, and have a look. Okay, Godzilla Kaiju World Wars. We have a very inexpensive looking rule book. Look like somebody printed it on their computer and chucked it in the box. I wonder if this is actually the original rule book supposed to come with the game, because wow, this is clearly not great, and it looks like it's been reduced in size, like somebody had a PDF, and I bet this was originally all in color. Some scenarios at the back. Monster Law. It's like a little bio at the back. All right. Here we have the what appears to be the monster cards. Keygun. A few stats on the back. Oh, sorry, I'm not over at the camera here. That's all right. Rodan. Of course, Godzilla. I like these player dashboards. These are all right. And King Ghidorah. Yeah, very nice. And next is a baggie of tokens. Very thin. It's not normal. It's more like card stock instead of punch board. You can see it flexes very easy. It's Yep, double-sided. They don't. Maybe it's just me, but they don't look like they're printed very well either. But I don't know. This game doesn't have a very good reputation. The rulebook is supposedly not very good, and I mean not this printed kind, but the rule set itself is infamous for being pretty bad. And they released a second edition set of rules that I've downloaded, and hopefully that'll mitigate any problems. And here's the board, and it's very, again, it's feels cheaply produced. It's very thin. Wow, it's very glossy. There's a clearly the city, and it looks like it's been wrecked. Points tracker around the edge of the board here. Some card slots. This is advanced gameplay. Then there's some, looks like dice. They're marked with a dice icon, but it looks like it says Energy Row event deck down there in the corner. The Energy Row here. No idea what that is about yet. Here's a sizable packet of cards. Here we are. Let's have a look at some of these. You can see they've curved out real bad. That's always a sign of cheaply produced cards, a cheap coating. So these say combat info, event, of course, knocked down, stunned, action cards. Looks like the action cards are probably a few proprietary to each monster. Yep. Godzilla, Rodan. Of course, the stunned and the knocked down. Artillery. Bazookas. Poison missile darts. Electric surge. Knockdown stun with a lot of text. Point. Ponds and gardens. Huh, lots of different things here. Looks like their attacks. Seems pretty good. Paradise, of course. This is one of the slickest components of the game I was waiting to see. These are the building tiles. As you can see, it looks like a couple of stacks, smokestacks, and you're meant to stack them on the board like this. They don't, seems like they don't fit together very well. Oh, there we go. I guess you have to turn them a certain way. And then as the monsters, my understanding is anyway, as the monsters smash the building, you're peeling these off one by one. And then once you get down to the bottom one, you flip it over, although those stacks stick past the edge a smidge, so I don't know that it'll lay flat, but I don't know if you can see that. There's monster footprints in there. That's actually pretty slick. I kind of like that. Here's the King Ghidorah model. It's very soft, rubbery type plastic, so not a lot of potential for any kind of breakage or anything after handling. Here is Rodan. One of the complaints I read about this game is that this Rodan figure does not stand properly by himself. He's got these two tiny little feet, so probably I'm going to end up mounting this guy to a base. What was this guy's name? I don't remember. Oh, Gigan. That's right. Gigan. I'm not very familiar with this particular monster. And last we have, of course, Godzilla. A little blurry there. Let's see if I can lighten this up. Just a little bit. The camera's going to wobble. Sorry about that. And there we go. Is pretty poor paint job. Wow. Again, very soft plastic. But he seems the most solid of all of the figures included in the game. Well, there you have it. Godzilla Kaiju World Wars. This thing is ridiculously out of print, unfortunately. Hate to break it to you if you didn't know already. I only heard about this thing just a few days ago, and I went on the hunt for it, and man, the prices I was seeing this game go for are ridiculous. It's crazy. This game has a terrible reputation for just being a lousy rule set, cheap parts, etc. And it's, nearly $100 on eBay. It's about $80 at secondhand dealers on Amazon. It's like I lucked into one for about half of that, but still, it's because once I got it into my head, I wanted it, and man, it's boy, I'm really torn here because I'm such a fan of the Godzilla franchise, and I had really high hopes for this one because I'm not familiar with anything from Toy Vault, and boy, as you could tell during the unboxing, the components are really very, very cheaply made. We're going to start with the cards. They've got sort of a not quite a matte, not quite a gloss finish, and they're very thin. So these are going to get sleeved as soon as possible. This was the main one for me. This is kind of a big deal. So typically when a game comes with any kind of chits in it all, they're pretty heavy punch board style, but these are very, I don't know if you can see it now. Of course, you saw it during the unboxing how flexible that whole board was and everything. Very thin cardstock, and they punched out fairly easily. My biggest fear punching them out was going to be that maybe they would tear. But they punched out okay, but man, they just feel so light and cheap. And some of them don't even look like they're printed that well, like they were done on a really low-end laser printer. That's the best comparison I think I can make. It's not good. I'm not impressed with that at all. And just from a design standpoint, the cards are kind of plain looking, as you saw during the unboxing too. So I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm torn. So we're gonna give it a couple of plays and see how we go. I think I'm probably still going to enjoy it. I mean, there's not a lot of Godzilla games out there, and the ones that there's a couple of really good ones from Japan, but I haven't been able to track any of those down yet. When I do, I'm going to have them on the show. But the ones we've had here in the States have, let's face it, most of them have been pretty lousy. And there's copycat games, such as Monster Apocalypse, and that one also had some pretty decent components and some 3D buildings and stuff that you could get for it. But I believe it was a blind buy, but I think that's what kind of killed it. That one did really well for a very brief time, and then it sort of crashed and burned. However, recently Privateer Press have announced that they're redoing the game. It's going to be a version 2 of that out with some resin and metal models, and we'll see how that goes. I thought the game was a dead game, but I've never had a chance to play that one because since it wasn't, this is going to sound maybe shallow or whatever, but since it wasn't technically a Godzilla, it didn't really appeal to me. However, they did make a Voltron set for it, and I like the Voltron IP, so I was tempted to get into it then, and I didn't. I held off. And recently, I've been seeing huge collections of it go for really cheap. That's why I was so surprised with this one. Even with the price I paid, I was kind of shocked at just kind of how expensive it was. And not at first, not until I opened it, but because once I opened it, again, everything it just feels really low end. And for having such a bad reputation and going for such a high price is kind of beyond me. It must be either a nostalgia thing or a thing about the IP maybe that people love, or there's something to the game that people see in it that I'm not seeing at the moment, and maybe some of the other people who've complained about it, maybe they haven't seen. So I don't know. It's something that, like I said, I want to get into it and get a few plays in. We're rolling up onto Gen Con here, and so this is one of the main surprises I was talking about in one of the other videos for you guys, and I actually don't know if we're going to see these in order now. So if I'm on a video later talking about a surprise coming, this was it. Let's see. Let's talk a little bit more about this stuff. So the dashboards are really cool, and this is the typical cardstock for this kind of type of thing. So these are actually really nicely printed. So these are actually about the third best component to the game, in my opinion. And it's because this is typical for a player dashboard. So, and there's 4 of them. Came with the 4 models. Of course, we talked about in the unboxing there how soft they are. They're pretty well painted. It's kind of hard to show this with my terrible camera here, but like Gigon here, he's actually painted quite well. I don't know how well you can see him now, but he's painted quite well. But as I was showing in the unboxing, see, Rodan's fallen over. It's going to be a problem. I'm going to have to put that one on a base. Godzilla's backplates are painted silver for the the glowing effect when he uses his atomic breath, and which I think is great. However, there's a big blotch of paint down the backside here, so I don't know if these were painted by hand or some kind of a machine. I doubt it was a machine, probably by hand. And like his fingernails, toenails are yellow, but it looks like it's kind of blotched on. I mean, it's typical for a I don't want to say cheap necessarily, but that's the word that comes to mind almost immediately when I'm looking at this game and these models in particular, because probably just pumped out in a factory somewhere, just hammered them out as fast as they could, and somebody with a paint just slopping paint onto these things as fast as they could go. And they look, don't get me wrong, they look really good, all things considered, but I think they could have been a little bit better. Of course, the QC at the end could have been handled a little bit better. Or I would have preferred them that they'd come unpainted and that I could paint them myself. So these are probably the second best component to the game. The best component, in my opinion, and this is something I have zero complaints about, is the building bits. And as you can see here, we stack them up, and then it's kind of hard to tell on the video here, but there's a red grid pattern laid over all of this damaged property, and there's roads with cars and things in them. And I'm assuming you set these buildings into the squares of the grid pattern, probably according to those scenarios we saw at the back of the book there. And then as they get smashed, you just peel layers off of them as you go along. And they stack really well. I had read that they don't stack well. The design was bad, but it turns out that the way the smokestacks hit, if you turn them, so they're off. See, these are going this way. This one's, once I turn it, this one's going this way. If you turn them, they stack up just fine. They stack actually really well together. So this is a really cool, kind of a 3D, very tactile component to this game. The main complaint I would have about these, if any, and I know I just said I don't really have any, but is that they have this, the underside of them, when the building gets completely smashed, you turn them, the last one upside down, and it's got monster footprints on it. That is amazing. However, they don't lay flat. And you see they wobble around. I don't know if that's going to be a big deal, like if we accidentally bump the table or the board, or if we're reaching across to move one of our monsters, if we happen to knock this thing out of the way. So it's probably not going to be that big of a deal, and more of a nitpick than anything. But that is just kind of irksome. The smokestacks stick up just enough past the edge of this thing so that they don't lay completely stable. The board, now that I've had a chance to look at it a little bit closer, I'm actually okay with. I know I talked a little bit there in the when we had it out and we were looking at it that it kind of felt thin and felt cheap, and it is really just it kind of feels like a giant sticker just pasted onto the front of this thing. But it's actually really well printed. The artwork is actually quite good. There's some pock marks on the roads and some debris and blast holes and all kinds of things down in here, and then little cars down on the what are supposed to be the roadways and etc. And so it's actually pretty slick. I'm actually quite impressed with it. I think the art design, especially around the edge of the board, the card slots and whatnot, could have been handled a little bit better. I feel like these colors are, for lack of a better way to put it, it's kind of difficult to look at. And I don't know if that makes sense to you or not, but it's this, like this side is this weird green color. That's a weird, like a really bright red. There's a purple down there that's actually difficult to see. And then this weird, like Gatorade yellow thing over there that I'm not crazy about at all. But again, it's a nitpick, right? It's just a nitpick. I know seems like I'm coming down negative on this thing, and I've got one more to go, and oh my God, what is this? This is the single worst rulebook I have seen in a game, and it looks, like I said earlier, it looks like somebody printed this at a reduced percentage on their laser printer and just slapped it together with a couple of staples. And that's ridiculous, especially for like the original price of this game. That would have been ridiculous. If I opened this box when this game was originally out, paid the original retail price, and I saw this, I would be furious. Furious. And then on top of that, part of the infamy of this game is that the rule set is terrible, that it's ridiculously bad to the point of being nearly unplayable. However, when I was looking into the game and trying to track it down, I did run across at Board Game Geek that the designer of the game actually had released a version 2.0 of the rules to address all of the concerns the players were having. So I've got it. I'm hoping that I'm going to read through this one, then I'm going to have a look at that one, and hopefully either the version 2 rules are a lot better, or that I can jam the two together and maybe house rule a little bit and figure out, try to pull the good game I feel like is probably here out of it, and that way we'll get a lot of enjoyment out of it. Now, again, I'm not trying to come down on this thing super negative. I was just trying to point out all of that stuff because this is the first game I've opened, especially for an out of print game, and one that's so popular and going for such a high price on eBay and such, that I was really rather disappointed in. And that doesn't happen here very often because I tend not to go for games unboxing or reviews that I know I'm not going to be crazy about or I'm not going to like or anything, because I don't want to be the guy to remove anyone's joy from any particular game. So all of that being said, I think that once we get in and we play this thing a couple times, we are probably going to have a really good time with it. I've been really looking forward to this thing turning up over the last few days, and especially with Gen Con rolling up on us, and now I'm involved in Gen Can't. And this is one of the things I wanted to kind of highlight during Gen Can't, along with all the other stuff we're doing as well. And so I know it sounds like this is kind of negative at the end, and but I think it's actually a positive. And what I mean by that is that if you see the game online and you see it for a ridiculous price, 80, 90 bucks, look around, search around some more, look harder, see if you can find it for a reduced rate. I paid far less than that and was happy to do so. It's even just for the models, the little 3D buildings and the board alone, I think the price that I paid was good, was proper. And if you can get it for a decent amount, a decent price, then go for it. Because if nothing else, maybe all these components are going to be useful in another game, right? So anyway, yeah, it's despite some of the disappointment I have in the component quality, I'm actually still really excited to play the game, and I'm really looking forward to getting it to the table here this weekend. I think that's going to do it for this unboxing, you guys. You can find me online at BoardGamerBlues.com or on pretty much all of the socials as BoardGamerBlues. Come and find me online and let's talk about the show. Let's talk about board games. Let's talk about this game. Find me at Facebook. Find me at Instagram. Find me on Twitter. And tell me what you think, especially if you've got a copy. I would love to hear your thoughts. Let's see. I think that'll do it. Yeah, so thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate it very much, and I will see you next time on Tatooine Tableflip. Bye.